couldn't get Major Singh out, so they poisoned the bunga, the Ramgadiya bunga, because he wouldn't come out. Dasa no Pukha Pyasa, and he's saving his aim for Gyani Zahel Singh. And we'll go into who the characters are. So how I want to start this, because it's a lamba topic, how I want to start this is with a few things, rather than just going through chronology alone, but also going through like the themes of why this happens. And then we go right up until the attack. Takriban, what happens in the attack, I think, is very much well known. Bahut sara prachar hoya about how the things fall and what the sarkaran did and so forth. But so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave the attack itself. I'm going to leave, but the whole build up from start all the way up to how we get to the 1st of June. How do we get to this situation where Sikhs are ready to die for something, and the Sarkar claim, according to the government white paper, they have no option left. There's no option left. There's militants barricading themselves in the Harmandir Sahib, and it's the only course of legal action is we must eliminate them, right, and return Harmandir Sahib to safety. That's what we're going to spend probably majority of my time on, and if I can, I'll talk about my other favourite topic, which is the Khalistan movement, what happens after that. So yeah, kadi hor cheez waaste bhi sad liya karo, hai na? I'm joking. This is my thing. ठीक है. Sab to pehla we're going to go through a few themes that I'm going to touch on. So like a lot of you guys are uni students, you pay a lot of money and you go to university, maybe the tesi. Arguably it worked out, but the framework, you get frameworks. You get frameworks of this is like a framework for a business or for a particular thing, you know? So what I want to do is I want to try and create some framework, which would have helped if I had slides, but essentially we're going to go through three themes, and then we're going to weave them into chronology as we go along. So first one, philosophical. Yeah, Punjabi vich vi main naal dassi jama Siddhantak. So something that is related to ideology, something that's much bigger than isolated instances of violence, isolated demands, something that's much more a bigger psyche. Yeah, philosophical. Second one, political. So ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੱਕ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ ਪਾਣੀ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲੀ ਦਾ ਮੋਰਚਾ all of that sort of stuff will shove into that. Yeah, so political autonomy, linguistic, financial, socio-economic, sara kuch we'll chuck into there. You've had great talkers here that have covered that at length, so I'm not going to go too much into that. And the third one, personal. So who are the people that set this up? Who are the people on both sides? Who is Sant Jarnail Singh ji? Kaun hai ye vyakti that's become this notorious mythical figure for Sikhs, for Indians, for the world alike? Who is this person? Kivi Loki t-shirt palande and they feel a certain way. Who is this person? We'll talk about. And then equally on the Indian government side, who are the people that play the kind of politics to get to the situation we are? So before we do chronology, I'm going to touch on those themes, and the themes overlap. Right, so the themes overlap. That's why I'm going to try and do that. Right, so there's in my head I've got some sort of diagram. Sama lagu main banauga, right, and I won't charge you 9 grand a year. Main free da itte dunga, koi gal nahi vandunga. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Okay, so I believe over the years the 84 Parchar has got a lot better, and it's got better in the sense कि we 40 साल तक इत्थे लाते हैं दसन वास्ते कि Sant Jarnail Singh जी उत्थे क्यों सी, हथियार उन्हां कोल क्यों सी. Why, you know, like debunking the myths kind of thing. So the government did a white paper straight after the attack. There's an SGPC white paper, I think it's released in 2004 by someone, I think his surname is still, he released this detailed white paper, which kind of does all of that. But the even Sara Pantha jo itthe lag gaya 40, and I understand why. You know, when it's something's current, you have to say, no, we're not terrorists, or we're not this, or the violence was because of this, or you lot were doing the violence, we have to do that. I understand. I said there's a time and place. But 40 saal se itthe late takriban dasan waste why, and like why Santaji had guns and why that person was like that, etc. You know, like to go line by line item by line item, debunk the myths. The actual reality is it doesn't really matter, really. So I'm from, there will be some plugs of the Baba Buddha Ji Gurmukhi Vidyalaya, shameless plugs I will put in. Commentary ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਓਗੇ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰੂੰਗੇ ਪੂਰਾ. Neelam here from the Vidyalaya as well. So at the Vidyalaya, what we're doing is guys, we're going through Panth Prakash, 18th century Sikh history, through a text called the Panth Prakash, written by Ratan Singh Pangu. And the audacity of Sikhs in the 18th century is illogical, is unexplainable. And we don't really now go and nitpick that, or we don't kind of go back and like analyze that as something. So just the other week we did Bhota Singh Garja Singh's Sakhi, and I said you guys all know the Sakhi, so I'm not going to repeat it. But a younger Bhota Singh makes this kind of decision that he's gonna collect tax. Solely because he overheard someone say कि Sikh सारे मारे गए, all the Sikhs are dead, Zakariya's killed all of them off, कि है नहीं कोई Sikh. And he felt so kind of compelled that he's got to do something. He could have done loads of options a reasonable person could have done. And he goes, nee, I'm going to declare Khalsa Raj here. I'm going to declare tax, right? And the actual in Panth Prakash is written, and he almost like, you go M6 toll, and there's like different tax that you got to pay for different cars. He's done one of those situations where basically if it's someone on their own, they're this much. If it's someone just one on a kota, on a donkey, they got to pay this much. If someone's on a gadda, like a cart, right, they've got to pay X amount. So he's proper thought it through, and he's written a letter to the local Mughal governor, Kibi Aake Tifardo. Bhota Singh's in charge now. Let's see what you lot are made of, right? So Bhota Singh's going to do this last stand, which is obviously going to result in his death. At a time where Najwan Sikhs are getting killed in the hundreds regularly, where the value of someone like him would have been crazy, but just to go and kind of meet death like that is a bit illogical. It's a bit rash, like we might say now, right? It's a bit rash. It's a bit illogical. It's a bit unnecessary. Go meet 2-3 more things. Just do something a bit better than that, right? Move the whole system along. You're not getting murdered in your hundreds. Right? See, now we know the Sakhi. Now we know the context. It does seem logical. So Bhota Singh makes his stand, and there's a lovely bit. Bhota Singh makes his stand, and a young Garja Singh joins him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "This is what I'm going to do." And Garja Singh joins him, and there's a conversation between Bhota Singh and Garja Singh. So Garja Singh asks him, what are we going to do now? What's going to happen? And he goes, I've written the letter. ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਰਕ ਆਉਣਗੇ, the Mughals, firstly they'll come. And he goes, then what? He goes, ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਰ ਭੰਨੂਗੇ. And he goes, then what? He goes, ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਪਾਉਂਗੇ. And then Garja Singh goes further, he goes, well, then what? And then these two lines for me encapsulate why with like where the 84 conversation needs to go, right? Bhota Singh goes, as written in Ratan Singh Pangu's work, he goes, Fir Khalsa ki charcha hui. You understand charcha, like debate, they get together, discuss. He goes, Fir Khalsa ki charcha hui. Don't worry, after our death, the Khalsa will get together and they'll discuss, they'll chat, they'll make a decision. Fir Khalsa ki charcha hui, Patshahi daba chahe joy. The ones that want to fulfill the desire of rule as granted by the Guru, they'll get together, they'll find a way, and from our spilt blood will emerge the Sikh resistance, and out of the resistance will emerge the Raj. So that level of like almost rashness, illogicalness, right? But फिर भी उन्होंने यकीन सी गल दा कि भी ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ, and our kind of spilt blood will lead to like the kind of Khalsa Raj di Niha, right? And they were right. They were absolutely right. It was that resistance that leads to more resistance, which eventually leads to the Missile period in Sikhs actually reclaiming Punjab at a place where they had a literal price on their head. So like tables getting turned is in its absolute like terrific form there for Sikhs. So मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है कि we don't necessarily unpick itihas in the same way, and now we're moving 40 years plus, we'll start to see 84 like that as well. We'll start to see 84 like that in the same way. where there's something, not that I'm saying, by the way, I'm not saying at all that it was illogical for Santaji to be. They will go through exactly why Santaji was there. In fact, there was no better place for Santaji to be than Akal Takht Sahib. I'm dumbfounded by this. Apne kai Singhan de vichar ke bhi utthe nuksan. What's nuksan? What's nuksan? What's fayda? I think if you think this is nuksan in that like loss, you know? If you think this is nuksan, I think you need a big you need to come to more of these, I think, and understand what Sikh philosophy actually is. Nuksan ki hunda, fayda ki hunda. But that's where I wanted to frame the discussion from. Is ideological, philosophical, and do you know what? And recently there's been like, I hear a lot of these words and I use them myself. Is something called, we say Sadivi Sangarsh. Sadivi means like constant. Sangarsh means struggled. So 84 is the latest chapter in our Sadivi Sangarsh, and the chapter will close. We'll honor it, and we'll start the next one. Tishi Dia Sangha Paoge Sari Sangat. That will close, and then the next one, and the next one. You see where I'm going, right? So 18th century, same thing. We honor that. We understand it. You know, we take inspiration from it, rather than kind of like too much trying to like analyze exactly why, who, what, when, where. You know? So that's my kind of first probably statement on 84. Is we're moving to that direction, where we're understanding that this is just an extension of Sikh ideology and philosophy, na ke merely a political or a combination of like isolated instances of violence that lead up to 84. So that's the reason, really. So let's expand philosophically. Philosophically, I like saying about Guru Hargobind Sahib. Guru Hargobind Sahib becomes the Guru, and we're very lucky we've got such texts in Sikhi, you know, and none more revered apart from Guru Granth Sahib Ji Dibani than Bhai Gurdas Ji's. And Bhai Gurdas Ji sets such like a good scene of when Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji becomes the Guru, right? And he's got a var, and I'm not going to go through all of it. है ना, तुसी जरूर खोज करियो. Tarm saal kar bahida ek thauna tika takaya. That this basically what he's writing from the context of what other Sikhs are saying about Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji. And it's a bit wild to kind of let this sink in, but other Sikhs are like Dharamsal, Gurdwara, you know, our other gurus, Guru Nanak Dev Ji to Guru Arjan Dev Ji, because our other gurus, Dharamsal, Karbahida, Dharamsal, Gurdwara, ek Gurdware bende hunde si sade pehle guru. And you know this one, ek thau na tika takaya, he doesn't sit in one place. So this is kind of like the marinade that people are doing about Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji. Yeah? Padshah Karyavade. Our other gurus, and he's with the Sikh Sangat here in conversation that he's writing, is saying that, you know, before like Akbar coming to the court of Guru Amar Das Ji, having langar and stuff like that, we had a cordial relationship with the powers that be. There was some sort of respect both ways, you know. Yeah, but this one, Gad Chadiya Padshah Chadaya, he talks about he's going to do Chadai on the Padshah. Like, that's a bit mad. Like, we had a situation and it was all right. And he goes, this Guru was saying, you know, and that's what Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji says. So you guys that know Itihas, know Suraj Prakash, when Miri Piriyan de Karpana Paya on Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, he declares, a young Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji declares that vengeance is top of mind. That is agenda number one. So Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji there is when they become the Guru, even there, they're talking about like where they want to take the direction of the Sikh Panth, and there people aren't fully convinced. Like, I'm not sure about this. Yeah, the Vard is quite a bit longer, but it goes on. It even goes on to say Sikhs are complaining. This is why I like Itihas. I was telling somebody as well. Yeah, there will be a few like tangents, you know? So just be prepared. I should have probably had slides that would have kept me on topic. This is why I like Itihas. Itihas, well, you know what it does? Itihas and Gurbani. Gurbani is Gurbani, you know? So Gurbani is the Guru, right? But why Itihas is interesting is because it contextualizes the figures and it almost humanizes them. So I'm not saying that they're not like normal, but it humanizes them in that sense. We just, again, another plug. We started with the Ratan Singh Pangu's descent on Sarhand, right? When he ransacked Sarhand, and we did all of that, right, to start off with for the kids, youngers and elders. And there's a bit in Pant Prakash when Pant Prakash Suraj Prakash references it well. I think so. So if you think about Banda Singh Bahadur, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ. This is, I'm just going to give you a little nukta of why I like ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਨਾ. So there's a bit where Banda Singh Bahadur, Madhu Das has become Banda Singh, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji is giving him, like, basically giving him all the glory in it, right? And Utte, there's people like Bhai Singh, you know? And again, I just take this with some sort of context, yeah? I'm not talking about people's spiritual state, I'm talking about their worldly being, okay? There's people like Bhai Singh Ji, Brahm Gyani Bhai Singh, and many of the Sikhs that had been with Guru Gobind Singh Ji from day, right? From day. And then Banda Singh Bahadur just kind of recently became a Singh. And the khanda used to make the Amrit that Guru Gobind Singh Ji had, right? So one of the biggest nishanya, right? Guru Gobind Singh Ji gives the khanda. This is again some itihasik surot. I'm not going to contrast too much, but they say the khanda they gave to Banda Singh. And it goes, Alela. When they gave him the list, these are the people that you need to get rid of. The people that were responsible for the shahidi of the Sahibjadi. Alela. As a gift, he gives them that. Maharaj gives them that, right? And there is Brahm Gyani Bhai Singh, who's been with them from day, literally gave their head for the Guru, right? And here, Bhai Singh Ji, another Sikhs, according to Itihasik Surot, this is why Itihas is important, say to Guru Gobind Singh Ji, say, that's a bit out of order. Ki Maharaj Asit Thodi Nali Nachar. And he's like, we might say, Kalda Jambya, right? Like, who's this geezer, right? We've been here in this hour, and in you've given him the khanda that you made the Amrit with. Like, that's a bit crazy, isn't it? And to which Bhai Singh Ji goes, Koi gal nahi, he goes, khanda tusi rakh leo. And then that's where the Panj, the Panj Tir, 5 arrows are given to Banda Singh as a result. Kyunki Sikhan ne naraj kita. So what I mean by that is that's something very normal. It's something I definitely would say. Yeah, 100%. Like, kalda jamya uzi. So it normalizes the people that we're talking about, humanizes them. Now, in no way am I humanizing or comparing them to us. However, from a worldly perspective, it adds a bit of color to their character. That's why I like it. That's what I was trying to get at. Anyway, in Bhai Gurdas Ji's Var, we'll finish this, is there's a bit in the same Var where, I forgot it now, but the Sikh Sangata say the other Gurus, they kept saintly people around them. That's a reference to Saimi Amir, the Sufi saint, who was very, very loyal to Guru Ramdas Ji, Guru Arjan Dev Ji. The other Gurus might have kept people from other faiths around them, but they were like spiritual people. But this one, and the words they used is dusht. He goes, this person keeps dusht around him, and that's a reference to Bende Khan, who would later go turn on the Guru anyway, right? But it shows the psyche of the Sikhs at the time, saying this Guru is taking us down a different direction, that we're not quite feeling this. Mera ਕਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਆ, I don't want to say it's Punjabi, is ਕਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਇਆ ਕਰੋ, ਇੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਾਇਆ ਕਰੋ, ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਦਾ ਘਰ ਆ, ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ, ਰਾਜ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ, ਲੜਨ ਮਾਰਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਇੱਥੇ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਭੰਗ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਕਿਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰੋ, ਕਿ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਸੋਭਦਾ. Absolutely incorrect. Sikhs have been doing this for a long, long time, and the ones that didn't accept it since Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, they needed a bit of convincing doing, and it's the same here now. It's the exact same situation. Us ਵੇਲੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਸੀ ਕਿ which way is this Guru taking us from Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji's times. Today is the Guru Avtar Purb, that's why we're talking about it. But essentially, we're in the same situation now. Why are we doing these gallan? Garm gallan kar diya Gurdwara. They're talking about rebellion and resistance and politics and violence and vengeance. And if you look at philosophy, these two things are intertwined. And the biggest example of that is Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji. So that's why we started with Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji's Avtar Purb karke ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ. So that's how their psyche feeds into all of this. So 84 philosophical reasons, Sikhi, that sort of stuff, a little bit of blurb, but then we'll start going into some chronology of who, what, and what. There will be, I'll always do both sides. I'll kind of paint a picture of what Indira Gandhi is feeling, or what the Indian Sarkar is feeling, about Sikhs and how Sikhs are feeling equally. Yeah, so you'll get an idea of what position they're in, what position we're in, and then we'll go through the events that transpire from there. So ultimately, 84 happens because of philosophical reasons, because it is the next chapter, the latest chapter in the kind of book of Sangarsh, in the book of rebellion. It's the latest chapter, and there will be another one and another and another. But what does that actually mean? What does that really mean? It sounds nice. I know because I've proper perfected the words. But what does that actually mean in actual sense? In actual sense, it means that our way of life is different to how anyone will live. So therefore, we have to be in charge. So sikhanda nara reha bahut chiran vaste baggi ja badshah. Either we're part of the Bagavat, the rebellion, or we're part of the Badshah, we're in charge. Now that sounds like a bit pompous and it sounds a bit arrogant, but our concepts like Sarbat Dapala have been watered down to mean something they absolutely did not mean. Sarbat Dapala, there's a notion there for tusi padhe likhe bande shayad baithe hoge mettun jade padhe, but if we're asking for someone's pala, we are implying that their pala is not being done. In its current state, there's a failing within its current system, therefore ki bhi assi aake unna da pala karna hai. So there is so Sarbat da pala, whilst again it's been that as a concept has been taken and turned into God knows what, but in reality Sarbat da pala can only happen when we're in charge, or else it's not happening. Jodon Sikhan da raj ya odon sareyan da pala hai, otherwise it's not happening. Therefore, we must strive to overthrow, we must strive to be in charge, to do said Sarbat da pala, because the pala is not happening. And this has always been a crazy thing for me to realize, is कि भी Sikh सारियां नू like करदे आ बहुत, सारे नाल nice रहंदे आ, you know, these kind of like topics that we often hear about. But actually Maharaj has been quite straight with a lot of stuff, and we've misconstrued the Guru's message, I think, massively. The bol Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Marya Sikha Jagt Vich, Nanak Nirmal Panth Chalaya. If there's a Nirmal Panth, there has to be mal somewhere. There has to be dirt for there to be without dirt. There has to be something wrong for there to be right. Sarbat da pala si mangde hain, kyunki ho riya nahi. It's not happening in like Western democratic states or back then like Shahi log si, like kingships and stuff like that. Whatever systems existed at the time, odon pala hoya nahi. Hence why Sikhs are striving to do it, essentially. So Raj is way big. So even stuff like Langar, ki bhi ithe tusi NHS ya ki tusi latbon Langar is not free food. It's absolutely not free food. I really hate that term. Sikhan ne jehdiyan cheezaं waste Sikhan ne shahidiyan dittiyan unna tusi free kahi jande a. I think is a bizarre terminology. But the point is, Langar itself is a political thing also. We are plugging the gap of the state. Ithe there's child poverty in like the UK and like, you know, other Western countries, food banks and stuff like that. Sade Raj koi bhukha nahi janda. And the Gurdwara is iota of a Raj. It is a kind of a minuscule in these four walls. Ithe Sikhan da Raja. Ithe sada koi bhukha nahi janda. So an extrapolation of that is what we're striving for. You know, when we're saying Sarbat da pala, the pala is here in the Gurdwara, i.e. the Raj is here in the Gurdwara. We want to extrapolate it. That's what Sarbat da pala means. You know, we want to do good by everybody. We want to do good with everybody because we're the only ones that can do it. Someone asked me a question the other week on one of these talks about like genocide and why we're the only people that haven't partaken in some sort of genocidal actions. Like why we're the only people that don't necessarily, if there's someone downtrodden, we don't necessarily treat them in a derogatory manner. We don't have this kind of ideology of, you know, like kicking someone when they're down. You've seen in, I'm not going to take too much of a like current political stance, but you've seen in different parts of the world, Yahudi have said so much, right? They've had to kind of endure so much over the years. And they're doing exactly what according to their their philosophy and philosophers and historians कि ਉਹੀ तशद्दुद ਉਹ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ the Sanatan Dharma, even though Hinduism isn't a religion per se, it's a culture, but the Sanatan log have been probably enslaved for 2,000 plus years. The another samaya of a loud, proud, geopolitically, good standard India, the Unavet you can see the psyche of how they treat, other people. In nature, Gulamariya, by the British, by the Mughals, even before that, by various empires, they've been subdued, right? They've been subdued, and their philosophy is an Eastern one that looks at like gun and like soul and like good actions and all that sort of stuff, rather than like dogmatic religion like the Western faith. Sorry, how these guys turn out to be genocidal, and then but Sikha mein sankalp nahi raha, never to do that. So we must fully accept, and the Gore, like they say this a lot, the right-wingers, they say this a lot. They say colonization was justified, and it was justified because all cultures are equal. That's their kind of, I don't know if they still say as proudly as they probably once did, but they believe there's this fundamental belief that all cultures are equal, and sada changa si ta asi lokan te thop ditta. Right, our way of life, our way of our language, our version of God and religion. So whilst we've never actually pushed it on everybody, but the results kind of speaks for themselves. To subdue people. Anyway, that's a little bit about like philosophy and why Sikhi is like that. So if Sikhi has some sort of vilakhantai, visheshtai, some sort of uniqueness, it's very tough now to make this Sikhi thing fit in a box of democracy, whatever system. It's tough for it to fit in there, because whenever that system will go off and split people and divide and rule, all that sort of stuff, Sikhi will be the barrier that stands in its way. And let's start from there. And so the three themes there: philosophical, political, personal. India is independent in 1947. Sikhanu also who are the personalities there? Nehru, Gandhi. Nehru's and Gandhi's remarks are very much documented on Sikhs. He didn't like Sikhs at all. He was not a fan. To which, at the time, Sikhs also really leader see Master Tara Singh. The Tara Singh nu unhone mana liya ki before the Pakistan-India split ki tu sade nal ro. Tara Singh there took that, right? And very quickly, Master Tara Singh realized he makes a mistake. I think the words by Nehru was we will give you an Azad Khitta in the north, an Azad piece of land, where you can enjoy the warmth of freedom in the north. We're indebted to your Qurbaniya, you guys all know, right? The Sikhs, majority of the people that freed India, we're indebted to you guys, and therefore, tuanu koi na koi azadi milugi in the north. So these are kind of the promises that are made to the Sikh people. When these things are being encroached upon, why are they being encroached upon as well, actually? Is today China is a powerful country. It has a one nation, one language kind of policy. Right, very similar to India. India is a brand new country. It's led by the founding fathers of the Congress Party, which is supposed to be a secular party, which doesn't take religion into argument. And these people are saying, okay, we need some sort of Indian identity. I want to see for you lot that do travel, is you go to Europe. You go from one country to another country, you only have to travel like 100 miles, and the language changes a little bit, culture changes a little bit, the food, sara kuch takriban badal janda. India has got more languages than probably Europe combined, Western and Eastern. ਕਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਖਿੱਚ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਰੱਖਤਾ the union of India. So often, ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਾਂ ਕਿ if you kind of go on a little bit anti-Indian as an establishment, not the government, as an entirety. So I'm going a little bit further. There's anti the government, we don't like the people, but the entirety of the makeup of India, there was land before 47, right? Like I'm going to take the Palestinian argument. We've got grandparents older than the Indian state, right? Same the Palestinian argument. So to question that and to say there is no such thing as a unique Indian identity, and there is no oneness that's being that was kind of forced upon all the subjects of India, it's not a radical thing to say. And our Palestinians are saying it every single day, and that's absolutely fine. In the Nivini Purani, I just want to remind you of that, right? Is when we're saying, when people are going on a bit anti-India, i.e. not just the government, yeah, but its entire establishment, what they're questioning isn't divine, right? Like, the land before that, and people lived peacefully and prosperously before that, right? So you're totally well within your right to do so. Anyway, India, Azad Hunda, Sikhs are being encroached upon. One nation policy is being pushed. What's the problem on India's part? Let's just look at it from their point of view, right? Sikhs are angry, and we're not feeling that over here. So we feel like they've gone back on that. So what's the Indian government's kind of rationale for that? There is a rationale, right? There's I don't often like just painting people like demons, right? They are, but there's rationale that goes behind like stuff before it becomes demonic. Sikhs occupy the majority of the armed forces. They live in the north. The north is prosperous breadbasket of India. That you are a new country. You're dependent on food before you've hit any trading partner yet. You want to present, especially the Gandhi family, you want to present India as on the world stage as a well-respected, prosperous ally of either the two blocks at the time, the USSR or the USA, right? And Indira Gandhi was very much pro the USSR side as well. So India wants to present itself there as this kind of great country, and you're overly reliant on these people, on one group of people, which make up a tiny amount of your population, but actually their output is per capita is massive. This is a problem. Generally, that's a problem. It's over-reliance. You've just hedged your bet too much on that side. It can be a problem. Tika? But this is what I want to fill you with, right? Is often in history, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ ਧੜਿਆ, they seem to understand the ability and capability of Sikhs before we do. ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਸਾਡੇ ਯਾਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ, not you guys, but ਸਾਡੇ ਲੋਕ ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ ਆ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਾਲੇ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਸਾਂਭਣਾ. At that time, only 2% of the population, the Indian government genuinely think that, hold on a minute, they might be a problem. So they rated, back then they rated our people more than we rate our people now. Put that in context. Yeah? थोड़ी जी confidence रखो. Yeah, Maharaj सारा कुछ कराने वाले हैं, गुरुद्वारा नहीं साम होंदा, गुरुद्वारे भी सामदे ही असी. And like I said, it's an extrapolation of our Gurdwara. You know, like what all the things are doing here and stuff like that. An extrapolation of that will be our Raj. Anyway, the Sikhs feel encroached upon. The Indians are pushing back. Over-reliance. Sikhs also built majority of the railway networks. Sikhs are also the majority of like traders. That comes in handy later, right? Bus driver, truck driver, all that kind of stuff between states. One of the kaam kafi chalda hai. I'll tell you why that comes in later handy. That's where Nashattar Singh Rodde famously gets his gun from, that which leads to Lala Jagnana's murder, right? He's going across states and he finds like a desi pistol. This is before the Singhs had smuggled anything. So in terms of infrastructure, food, in the armed forces, etc., you're massively reliant on one group of people, and they're the ones kicking off. What do you think is going to happen with Ketchikirake, like massive India? What do you think is going to happen with the rest of India? Now it's looking volatile. And it was, right? It was. The Muslim-dominated states, the South as well. We've got a really good, we've had, I don't know what it's like now, we've had a really good relationship with Tamil Nadu, with the South Indians, actually. I don't know what they're like, I don't know what everyone's like, but there was a time that us and the Tamil Nadu guys got on. There's you guys remember Devinder Pal Singh Puller? He was on death row. Puller was on death row, and there's a picture, this is still around, when he was going to get death row, there's loads of little kids, Tamil kids, holding his photo. It's in a Tamil school, right? And they knew, I mean, they fully knew what he was accused of. He was accused of letting off bombs in certain areas, right, which targeted the Congress leader officials. मेरा कहने का मतलब कि उस वेले उन्होंने भी सिंघां दी हामी भरी, right? Same as the Rajwana campaign when Rajwana's fancy came about, the South actually backed it. So India has a problem now where one group of people, over-reliance, these group of people, they know our history, they know what we're capable of, and other states, simple like politics, there will be a domino effect. They just set up and this idea of Indian state starts to crumble down very quickly, very quickly. So Sikhs are being encroached upon very quickly, like literally only 5 odd years afterwards. We have the Punjabi Suba movement, right? Punjabi Suba movement is an agitation for Punjab's linguistic rights. Punjabi Suba movement is for all Punjabis, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, and it's led from, and the Sikhs start an agitation where they protest and many get arrested, and one of the reasons why Sant ji is there. ਹਨਾ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਸੰਤ ਉੱਥੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਸੀ, ਮੋਰਚਾ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਅਕਾਲ ਤਖਤ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੋਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਸੀ. Punjabi Suba has got nothing to do with Sikhi in like per se, but in actual fact, Punjabi Suba is led from Akal Takht, even though there's more Hindu and Muslim speaking Punjabis than there were Sikhs, right? And that sounds a bit crazy, but ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕਈ ਚਿਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ I want to just minuscule it. There was riots here in Birmingham, ਹਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਠੀਕ ਸੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚਲੋ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨਾ, but there was riots here in Birmingham. I can't remember what year it was. I was 2011, yeah. So I remember being young and coming here to the riots ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ quiet ਸੀ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਤਾਂ ਰੌਣਕ ਮੇਲੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਸੀ, and I came here and all the Singhs were around the Gurdwara sahib, and they were keeping the Gurdwara safe, and I remember being here then and all that sort of stuff. And do you know what was interesting about that? This riots about something, I remember the guy got shot in Tottenham, right? It was Tottenham, right? And it spread out and it just became lot of this, shoppa. The point is, the whole of Birmingham kind of circulated around the Gurdwara as a community. The Gurdwara became kind of the central focus of it. Gurdwara, like everyone's looking at the Gurdwara like, what are you lot doing? Right, we'll try and do the same. So the mosques and anything. So whenever there's kind of a tragedy or some sort of issue, sare ne dekhna thode wali hai, sade wali hai, right? Because again, that visheshtai, that valakhantai, that uniqueness of Sikhi, loki samjh gaya already, and shared way a little bit behind. Hale assi samjhe nahi ki bhi ek karoge kush, and then we'll see what they're saying. And there's a meeting here with like people I remember, and like again it was at the Gurdwara, because the Gurdwara was the place like, oh, you'll be safe there and you can chat about what you want to do, right? And in the same way, Punjabi Suba is more of a Muslim and Hindus are speaking Punjabi. Today, if you go to Pakistan today, the Pakistani Punjabis feel the same way. They feel, funny, they feel that Urdu has been pushed onto them. Kiasi Punjabi si. I watched a podcast by these people. I don't know what their job titles. Everyone's got a podcast, so that's not really a qualifying credential. Yeah, I've got one as well. But the point is, he was saying कि जद सानू पंजाबियां नू, even as Muslims, जद पंजाबियां नू साडे कोल हक सी ते शेरे पंजाब रणजीत सिंह करके हक सी. So what he's saying is, since post-British invasion and then post even the establishment of Pakistan, he goes, we as Punjabis have been encroached upon. Our rights and our way of life has been encroached upon by kind of Urdu, a set standard of Islam that we didn't even follow. And that's been pushed on us in a divisive manner, just to kind of beef India, right? To be like a Qattarbadi Islamic Soj. So it's interesting that even there they're going through the same problem, right? So there is genuinely a possibility of a greater Khalistan, let's say. The Punjabi Suba movement, so yeah, it's held out of Harbandar Sahib. The police invade Harbandar Sahib in the 50s, after which Sikhs realize ki haq nahi milne, so they ask for kind of a redrawn of bordering, in which we lose even more in the 60s. We have the reorganization of Punjab. So Punjab's landmass is cut. So this is where like Haryana, Union Territory to Chandigarh, Himachal Pradesh, and kind of like the issue that we've got with the waters, it starts here, essentially. So that agitation leads to kind of a worse, a more negative outcome, and as a result, the Sikh agitation is bubbling, right? Over time, it's bubbling. At that time, India goes to war with Pakistan as well. So they have two wars with Pakistan in the 60s and the 70s. ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਧ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਫੌਜੀਆਂ ਨੇ Pakistan ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਲੜ ਕੇ ਜਿੱਤੇ. There, India has even bigger problems, and geopolitically, some of you guys, if you're informed, is the USA is on the side of Pakistan, very much so, and India is on the side of the Soviet Union. So this now is a what do they call it? A proxy. This is a proxy war, same as Syria, Lebanon, etc. This is a proxy now. Other countries have got a vested interest in these two, right? So now, ultimately, a really, really paranoid India, where they've just broken off Pakistan into two, into what's now Bangladesh. They've still got some resentment towards India in the Bengal states. That South Indian resentment still there, and Punjabis are still there. Same thing. So eventually, we're going to. I'm going to skip and go into Indira Gandhi's emergency period, and then we'll start from there into how we get here. Indira Gandhi comes onto the scene, and again, she's political class, so she's been a career politician her whole life, as her family. And when she kind of comes about, she's very close with the Soviet Union. And Unato Salah leke, she's making a lot of moves as well. That's been very documented now over the years. And when people are fed up of her, she's quite a draconian character. I think it's BBC's Mark Tully. BBC's Mark Tully, who's no admirer of Santji, big admirer of Indira Gandhi. Genuinely, I don't think he understood. Like, then they've found it really hard to kind of understand Sant, really. So like, there's a lot of people from other faiths that do like Santji a lot, and there's some people that kind of miss the mark. Yeah, Mark Tully is definitely one of them, right? So Mark Tully writes that it was all good until Indira Gandhi got her son, her Badda Munda, Sanjay Gandhi, until she got Sanjay Gandhi involved. She goes, Sanjay Gandhi was very tough. He enjoyed like draconian laws, right? And one of the things that he does is the sterilization campaign. He sterilizes a load of low caste Hindu people. And his rationale for that is we're a growing population, they're a burden on unemployment rate, and they're breeding too much, and we just need less of them. So these are Hindus that primarily he rounds up and forces them into sterilization camps, right? So Indira Gandhi's kind of like powers got to her. She's enforcing all this draconian law, and at that time she imposes an emergency because she suspects Virod from her opposition. An emergency is kind of, I don't think we have, maybe we do, is like they suspend parliamentary procedure. She knows she's going to get impeached essentially, and she suspends all kind of law and order, and there's a lockdown. There's a national lockdown. And nobody can organize because there's a lot of pushback to Indira Gandhi's draconian laws. So now we enter, like, but that's philosophical. We did a bit of that. We did a bit of politics. Now we enter the people involved on each side. I told you Sanjay Gandhi, I told you Indira Gandhi. And we're going to talk about somebody who's a very, very key player in this. Is prior to the emergency, Indira Gandhi is invited to the 300th year Shahidi Prabhu of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji in Seesganj Sahib, Delhi. So we just done the 350 years this year. This year is 300 Sala Shahidi Prabhu. And at that time, it's a stage of all religious and political Sikh leadership, and they shower Indira Gandhi with pleasantries. They say some crazy stuff in Guru Sahib. Firstly, they get up for her when she walks in, and they say some absolutely outrageous things. I think it's Rajiv, right? He's married to was it Rajiv? I think he's married to a Punjabi girl. And I think they said something like, Sanjay Gandhi was married to a Punjabi girl. And I think one of the leaders, Delhi da si, he got up and said, Rajiv da bhi tusi hai na Punjab di kudi de naal biyah karo. Like, it's kind of like just embarrassing, bending over backwards kind of pleasantries that they showered with. And somebody said, the deen that Guru Tegh Bahadur ji nu jehdi deen hai, inane matlab la ditti. By Indira Gandhi coming here and being really nice to us and gracing with her presence, it's like we're kind of even though Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji gave Shahidi for them, right? And of course, nobody spoke. No Sikh religious and political leadership, Shromani Committee, Shromani Akali Dal, the Delhi equivalent, everybody's there. And religious characters too, as well. I want to make this clear as well. There's religious Sants, etc. there as well too. All of them, nothing apart from one person on stage. And that's Sant Kartar Singh Bindranwale, who gets up. And in there, I mean, if you think about this, like the level to do this is Sant Kartar Singh, he's fairly lesser known then, and they lash everyone in front of Indira Gandhi. Give it to Thodi Jameer Maria. Are you consciously, are you dead? That this is how you treat someone in the Guru's Darbar. Anyway, it's at that point that Indira Gandhi becomes like familiar with who are these people, who's this guy, and what's this Damdami Taksal situation all about, right? And I want to touch just a little bit on our institutions, our Sikh institutions. Takriban to see Taksal nu, like everybody's heard, ki Damdami Taksal da kamya, like to like teach part, Santya, and like Parchar karna. Ye Taksal da mukh like kamya. That's the main thing that Taksal does. But be under no illusion, that is the only job of Taksal. And we'll go into what it is. There, Sant Kartar Singh Ji opposes that. I'm not going to go into the like backwards, right, from Sant Kartar Singh backwards. But if we go forwards, sterilization campaign, emergencies invoked. Akali leaders, the Sikh leaders, Jede Indira Gandhi de Virod Karde Si, they got arrested. So there was nobody to drive the agitation forward. Damdami Taksal drives the agitation forward. No one is more outraged than poor Hindus being sterilized than Damdami Taksal. They take it almost personally. Okay, how dare you do this? 37, the Nagar Kirtans that happen have happened as a result of that, right? So the outrage is expressed by Sant Kartar Singh against the emergency. So can you see from Indira Gandhi's point of view that these law ain't going anywhere? In fact, these law are pushing the boundaries more and more and more and more, right? So if someone can knock down the domino, it's these law. So as time goes on, you'll see that more and more, right? And specifically, when I say these lot, I mean this Sant Kartar Singh and then Sant Jarnail Singh. Sant Jarnail Singh becomes the Jathedar. Sant Kartar Singh passes away. One of the accident hunda. Sant Ji becomes the Jathedar in 25th of August 77 at the age of 30 years old, fairly young for a religious institution. And again, what's Taksal? What's this? Is it that important? Yeah, it's that important. 150,000 people at Sant Jarnail Singh is the Starbandi. This isn't just a Gyani teaching part, right? There's a way beyond that. Even more beyond that, the entirety of Punjab cabinet, the senior members of Punjab's cabinet have a day off to go to Sant Jarnail Singh is the Starbandi, right? So, under no illusion is Taksal just part, right, or just Parchar. Yeah, hai Taksal da mukh kam ya, but it's abundantly clear there that the entire weight of the Panth's kind of the Sikhs' like aims, objectives, politically and beyond, are resting on a young 30-year-old by the name of Sant Jarnail Singh Bindranwale. And it's in that exchange where I think it's Badal, Prakash Badal, the elders. He gets up and says on Sant Ji's the Starbandi, he's chief minister at the time, and he gets up, his finance minister's there, everybody's there, he's took his entire cabinet there, and Badal says कि भी जद टकसाल नू कोई चीज़ दी लोड़ होवे तुसी दसो सी हाज़रिया. So firstly, that already says like the position of the Taksal. And when Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, the first time they speak on the Starbandi, and they goes, don't worry, he goes, if there will be an agitation, it will be in the Gawai of Taksal. So the other way around, mate, yeah? If you lot need anything, you tell us. The power's this way, not that way. Yeah, you're elected officials. We don't answer. We answer to the Sangat, we answer to the Guru. There's badali dena kisi ne, sanu kisi ne badalna nahi, right? So Sant Jarnail Singh Ji there puts it fully back in their court, saying, no, it's we're in charge. You will do what we say, not the other way around, right? We're not like another token religious person for your political campaign. Quite the opposite. Yeah, this is our morcha, and we'll let you know. So very, very early days, it's recognized that this Sant Jarnail Singh is which way he's going to go. This is 77. 78, I'll touch on a little bit. Takriban tusi sare jaande about the Shidi of the 13 Singhs. Why does that happen? And who are the Nirankaris? I don't want to go in too much into their Pashokar. They're a revisionist movement post Singh Sabha. they're actually a revisionist, which is irony in it, because then the guy declares himself the guru. But they're a revisionist movement, and at that time their leaders Gurbachan Singh, ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਗੁਰਬਚਨ ਨਿਰੰਕਾਰੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ, and it was in Indira Gandhi's faida, it was in her benefit, and it's still in everybody's benefit now. Like, you know, like, you know, like there's riots and all these like Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. If you can just show like black on black crime, you almost discard the actual problems, right? And everybody's got actual problems in their community. But if you just kind of, it whittles down the actual aims and objectives of what people are actually trying to achieve. And for the Sarkar, they found a perfect play is, let's just call it sectarian violence, Sikh on Sikh crime. Yeah? And who better to be the protagonist to Sant Jarnail Singh, to somebody that's fully invested in the Indian National Congress, right? Whose headquarters is based in Delhi, who's funded, protected by the Indians. Inu khilaf khada kar dinde Sikhan de, right? So the jehde hakkan di gal karde about water, all of that sort of stuff will go, and they will just beef. They would just get into like a sectarian violence, right? And they'll start to fizzle out a little bit. And that's what happens. Guru Bachana claims he's going to do Beadbi of Guru Granth Sahib Ji on Vaisakhi Day in 78. Utte Bhai Fauja Singh Ji goes Virod Karan Vaste. 13 Singhs are shot, right? After being shot, they were shaheed hundeya. The karwai after for their funerals and stuff like that is done by Sant Ji themselves. Hathon ho sari seva kardeya udu baj. And this is the probably not my visha, but this is the astuteness of Sant Jarnail Singh Ji. So there's Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, the Sant. Again, this isn't my entire talk, but there's Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, the religious saintly person. You've probably heard all of that. I'll leave that to someone else. Yeah, I do the fun bits. There's Sant Ji, the saint. There's Sant Ji, the kind of like Sapai, like we could say, like fighter, organizer of like underground rebellion. And then there's Sant Ji, in my opinion, the absolute mastermind, and their ability to tie both together and draw out the government in bad positions. And none is more exemplary than this one. Teran Singh Adishidi Hundiya. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji declares either you guys go through your system and get justice, or we know what to do, right? And what that does is turns the temperature up on the government, right? Are you really gonna like convict your own guy? Yeah. So Guru Bachana in 63 or 65, Nirankaris are on trial for 13 counts of murder. Are you really gonna? You're not. Then they weren't gonna. They was never gonna convict their own guy that they set up. But what Sant Ji has done there is he's turned the temperature right up and say, can you keep it here? But equally, whilst doing that, there's other groups and under Sant Ji that the agitation, or more so the agitation, the violent rebellion against the Nirankaris already started. Nirankari bhavans are forcefully shut down. Nirankari Parcharaks are shot dead, and the pushback on the Nirankaris has already started. Famously, obviously deserves a shout out is the group called the Babbar Khalsa, right? Because Bhai Fauja Singh Ji and other Singhs were part of the Akhand Kirtan Jatha. Therefore, they were very invested in this, and it's the Babbars who go and absolutely clean house on the Nirankaris. So the Sat Satari that were in front, he said you'll have Panch Pyare, we'll make Sat Satari. It was a mockery. All Sat Satari are dead. All of them are dead. So koi nahi bakshiya gaya. Singha ne ek utswele badala liya. And eventually in January 1980, when he is acquitted, when he's given that he's not going to get any saja, it only took 4 months. April 1980, Guru Bachana is shot dead by Ranjit Singh and Kabul Singh, right? And the glory of that is Indian Tribune report give you a professional hit job, because he's under mass security, Guru Bachana is, and Ranjit Singh goes in as a carpenter, gets a job in his house, probably does his wardrobes and that, right? I think he was a carpenter, so he knew what he was doing. But he actually does a bit of work, and then he shoots him dead. And the Tribune article was it's a professional job by Ranjit Singh, who'd never fired a gun before. So Guru Bachana is shot dead. The pushback on the Nirankaris is getting heavier and heavier. The demands, as a result, can you see now the two coming together? For any other Qawm, if they didn't have the aghu that we would have had, that would have just turned sectarian. And I said about sectarian violence, it fizzles out the aims and objectives of a morcha. Sant Jarnail Singh is able to marry the two, right? Because this is Dharm Yudh. This isn't just a political nationalist ideology, this is Dharm Yudh. So where Jithe Sikh Shaheed hoya, wo badla bhi lena, and nali the failed Sikh leadership which had been asking for rights, wo bhi asi kam pura karna hai. Sama vadda ja raha, right? We go into a situation where Sant Jarnail Singh Ji becomes like the respected figure. There's a lot of misconceptions. I'm going to touch on this. I'll do one or two more like things about the Singhs. Then I'll finish quickly if I can. If I don't do any of the tangents. So one thing that's interesting about Sant Ji there is there's a misconception they're a Congress agent. बहुत बारी है कि तुसी शायद सुनिया होगा कि संत कांग्रेस दे एजेंट सी जब कांग्रेस दा सारा काम सी कांग्रेस ने ही कराया, which is a bit crazy because they literally get the religious opponent Nirankari, they get him assassinated. Later they will assassinate Lala Jarnail, who's a press, who owns a lot of media outlets, who's also a loyalist Congress leader as well. And also it's hustle hinigal. So what is Sant Jarnail Singh Ji? I think is one of the journalists whose name I forget. He goes, Sant Jarnail Singh, he goes, Jarnail Singh Bindranwale is a tiger that the Akalis try to ride to become relevant again, because remember the Akalis had become failed political leadership, right? They tried and tried again. They failed on the Punjabi Suba, they failed on the reorganization. The constant failings in the Akali Dal. Sikhs are losing a bit of hope in the Akali Dal, much like now, yeah? It's Sikhan di party had a time and a place. But in the minds of the Sikh populace, they badi aas nahi rakhde si ki Akali sada morcha jit sakde. So the Sikhs had kind of had this lost hope of the Akalis, and the Congress wanted to actually come in and play in that space, very much like now. We're literally in the same place as we were 40 years ago. And what was the reality? The journalist writes, he goes that this Bindranwale is the tiger that the Akalis tried to ride to become relevant. The Congress tried to ride to become to finally get a grip of Punjab, but in truth, he rode only for his people, and that's the reality. Sant Jarnail Singh is able to play off both Congress versus Akali, right? Make all the right kind of calculated decisions. The about violence. Sikhs versus Nirankaris, lots of violent clashes. Mark Tully actually writes, the chief minister at this point is Gurdwara Singh, because the Akalis were lost. There's a guy called Gurdwara Singh. He's a Congress chief minister. Tully writes, I met Gurdwara Singh, and Gurdwara Singh admitted to me, in his book he writes this, he admitted to me that sometimes it's just easier to kill off Sikh youth than trial them, because there's too much paperwork, essentially. So, inanu maar do, and inane edda set hona. So Nirankaris, Sikhs, and now eventually, this is when they will get drawn in, the state, the police, the army, etc. Right? So now we have the entry of the state as well into this melee, and this is how we'll get to the attack on Harmandir Sahib. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji, they get arrested. They get arrested because the assassination of Lala Jarnail. Lala Jarnail is, I've just told you, he runs a few press publications. He also gives a character reference for Gurbajana to get off. He gives a speech in court. He's an influential person. He's against the Punjabi Suba movement. He asks Punjab's Hindus to declare Hindi as their native tongue rather than Punjabi. So he's doing it purposely. He's agitating. He's going against everything that the Akalis and the Sikhs had been arguing against. And Lala Jarnail is assassinated by Swaran Singh and by Nishatra Singh Rodde, shoot him dead. As a result, an arrest warrant is issued for Sant Jarnail Singh Bindranwale. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji is in Chandokla in Haryana with the death of Taksal. The police basically tried to ambush, in which there's firing, and the Taksal bus is burnt, in which the Poti Sahibs of the Jatha, now you imagine Sant Jarnail Singh Ji and how he felt about this, and you know how Sant Jarnail Singh Ji felt about this, and in fact this is the craziness of Sant Ji, is Sant Jarnail Singh Ji makes sure everybody involved in that one attempted arrest situation, every single person involved in that is assassinated. Low level, high level, doesn't matter who you are. Low level police officer from Haryana, dead. Every single person in that Sant Jarnail Singh made sure they got badala. Why? Kyunki utte gurbani di bhi hui, and that's beyond acceptance. And everybody had to pay. Sant Jarnail Singh escapes from there. Even their escape is crazy. How you get from Haryana to back to Mehta Chowk, through every single checkpoint, Santaji gets back. And again, audacious. This is why Santaji is the notorious figure, right? Much bigger than like just our spaces. This is why he is a mythical, notorious figure, and always will be. Escapes that, goes back to headquarters, the Stan of Taksal. In the morning, gets up, goes to the Darbar Sahib, Ishnan karke, meets the Jathedar Vakal Takht. Yeah. So Santaji isn't isolating out other religious leadership as well. Like there's no arrogance here either. Meets the Jathedar Vakal Takht, kiddan kariye? What do you want me to do? Like, how should we play this? And they're like, oh, whatever you want to do. And he goes, all right, say, I'll declare the fact that I'll give arrest. And Sant Jarnail Singh Ji voluntarily gives arrest from the headquarters the headquarters of Taksal. Even there, where the army come into it. Now this is interesting. The army come into it there because General Sinha, who refused to do the attack, is contacted to post this period, and he's contacted to say, bring in the army to arrest Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. And in his memoirs, he writes, that's absurd. That's a civil matter. It's got nothing to do with the army. But they were generally, the Indian Sarkar was ready. They were that scared. I don't know if it's scared or if it, is they wanted to call the army in for an arrest. So army trucks, the full shebang around Mehta Chowk to arrest Sant Jarnail Singh Ji. Right, and the army general at the time, Sinha, referred it back to Amritsar police station. Because it's their job to arrest a fugitive that you want. If you want someone in who's willing to give arrest, go meet him and go arrest him. Is given back over to the Amritsar police. Amritsar police, I forget his name. That's DIG Atwal. That's DIG Atwal. There's a deal that you don't harm the Sangat. This is the gangster. Sanji goes, you don't touch the Sangat. And he goes, yeah, no worries, I won't touch the Sangat. I won't come in heavy. Because I'm giving a rest, I'm going to do Katha first. Yeah, we're going to do das. You don't go in heavy on the Sangat. He goes, cool. And he did. And I would take Shaheed Bihwe. And Mehta Chowk, there's a couple of things about Shaheed there as well. So Sanji is getting arrested, just like noting this, yeah, like task for later, like noting this. DIG Atwal is shot dead in the Joda car of Harmandir Sahib. Because he came to give it loads about that in 83. So it took a few years, but it's still on the back of Santaji's mind. We had a deal, you didn't touch the Sangat, and you did. And you have to pay. Santaji gets that one back as well. He doesn't let, none of these instances get to go. You may have seen the clip of the Singhs describing the Shahidi of Kulwant Singh Nagoke. I hope you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, Jarur Dekhyo. Kulwant Singh Nagoke is like the first person of this Sangharsh to be Shaheed, like in a police station without charge or without trial. He's grotesquely tortured, and he's someone of a very high spiritual caliber, and they've took gouged his eyes out, broke his bones and all that sort of stuff, right? And eventually all Shaheed on that. And after his Shaheedi, Santaji literally, like on Manji Sahib Diwan Hall, the tape still here, Manji Sahib Diwan Hall, Santaji just goes through a list of names. That's all they say. Gurbachna DSP, the high-ranking police officer in charge, the duty officer, the arresting officer. They just name drop on Manji Sahib Diwan Hall, right? In Mahal AC, Santaji's name dropped it, and you know what was coming. Every single person involved in the torture and killing of Kulwant Singh Nagoke is shot dead in vengeance for that, right? So from here we go, like I said, we go into like a violent state. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji is arrested. There's a question and answer by Santaji in the arrest interview. I'd highly go recommend that. It's well worth a read. It's funny. It's witty. There's a bit where they're saying, where's Ranjit Singh? Santaji declared, if you give me, I'll weigh Ranjit Singh in gold, right? Because he killed Gurubachana Nirankari. It was kind of like you lot are looking for Ranjit Singh as a fugitive. I'll give his entire body weight in gold. And there he goes, you're saying this about Ranjit Singh. He was on the run then. And he goes, have you got that much gold? And Santaji goes, have you got Ranjit Singh? That's Santji's reply to that, is you got Ranjit Singh. And it's obviously they haven't, right? They failed as a state. They can't find one guy who's gone and assassinated like a high-ranking, guarded religious leader and is literally on the run, and they can't find him, they can't pinpoint him. But they're more concerned about who's giving you the gold, because you're not that rich. Like, who's giving you the gold? He goes, you give me Ranjit Singh, I'll give you the gold. And it was a bit of like an embarrassing one, like to put them in their place, you know. So Santji is released, of course. Why are they released? Why is Santji released? Yeah, there's no charge. I like saying that because that's the legal thing to say. But there's a huge agitation on Sikhs. Huge agitation. There's a plane that's hijacked and landed in Lahore by Gajinder Singh, who recently passed away of the Dal Khalsa. Gajinder Singh hijacks a plane, and even that, there's a ramage to that as well. There's a ramage to that. It sounds a bit like, oh, it's a bit chaotic and a bit anarchist. But Gajinder Singh hijacks a plane. He lands it in Lahore, and he's arrested. And he does it to negotiate the release of Sant Jarnail Singh, even though they were only in for like a month, to negotiate the release of Sant Jarnail Singh ji, right? And he's arrested. And they turned that into a big thing. Look at that, they're hijacking planes now. To which Santji, after being released, says when Indira Gandhi was arrested for electoral fraud, 2 of her loyalists hijacked a plane. And when she came back into power, right, after parliamentary procedure was reinvoked, she awarded them with seats in the House of Parliament. And she's like, now you're trying to stick it on Gajinder Singh. And Gajinder Singh had been in Lahore since Uttirail, and he passed away a couple of years ago. He'd passed away. But essentially, a mahal ban gaya si. We'll just Santji still up, released back at Mehta. They go on a tour, and this is audacious. After getting released for killing Nirankari, they go on a India-wide tour, including stops to Delhi, including stops to Bombay. And the right-wing Hindus, Bal Thackeray at the time, saying, let's see if you can make it to Bombay. Santji goes, I'll make it. Not only I'll make it, and I'll parade through an open-top jeep, was Santji's words. And that's exactly what, so you've seen these videos of Santji on, that's Bombay. Santji goes to Delhi. Yeah, they meet Sikh religious leaders there as well. Anyway, the Sangharsh back in Punjab is heating up further. The demands of the Sikhs are met. We get to 1982 is probably where I want to take this, and then I won't go too much beyond that. 1982, there's lots of negotiations between Sikhs and the Sarkar. It is documented in various sources, various sources, that Sarkar managi. The Sarkar accepted the demands of the Sikhs. The Anandpur Sahib, they had generally said, you know what, Lalo, it's fine. But for whatever reason, they had pulled out very last minute. There's even one source that says, you know, where the parliamentary house is, Safrajung Road, they've got a helipad station. Helipad's ready to go and meet Sant Jarnail Singh. It says, you've won. You've got your demands. Never took off. Now, now we've moved on, and we're in this period. So now people blame like deep state and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go conspiracy theorist on you, right? But people have got lots of kind of reasonings behind that. It could be foreign interference. Yeah. So if you remember, like the BJP leaders, Subramanian Swamy, he argues this loads. He absolves Indians of all responsibility and just blames Russians, innit? But but he blames entirety on USSR. He says that the USA was backing up Pakistan, and it was in their interest to create trouble on the border. Therefore, Mrs. Gandhi should be strong, and she should basically wipe out the problem on the border. Otherwise, the Pakistan we can push back on the border, and India as a state would disintegrate, because the USSR had a massive vested interest in India. They still do now. So like, you know, now as well, India tries to like be cool with like Trump and stuff like that. Pakki yari ho de udhar, always. No matter what happens. I think the Europeans tried to stick it on the Indians recently to try and after the Ukraine war. Okay, why are you still buying oil from them? They've got long-standing yari, the Soviets and the Indians. Regardless, 82 negotiations break down. What's pivotal in Sant Jarnail Singh ji, so I just want to place Sant ji at Akal Takht, and then I'll leave it, because they're still in Metta Chowk at the minute in our timeline. What's important is the arrest of Bhai Singh. That's massive. Bhai Singh ji is arrested, and later is Baba Tara Singh, and they are charged with the killing of a Nirankari, right? And it's after that, well, it's during that, to protest that, Sant ji moves to the Parakarma of Harmandir Sahib, Nanak Niwas, which is like a hotel, Sarah Utte. Sant ji moves there, and equally there, just so happens, the Akalis are there, leading their Paniya da Morcha, etc., etc. as well. So you've got now two groups of people: the Sikh political leadership, which is kind of failed, no one's really into it, and you've got Sant Jarnail Singh. Sant Jarnail Singh is advocating for their guy, right? Bhai Singh ji is, again, not our topic, but it's the perfect duo. Sant Jarnail Singh is head of a religious institution. Bhai Singh ji is feeding that religious institution with countless and countless of youth, which are basically going to drive the Sangharsh forward. So without both of them working in tandem, this whole thing doesn't work. Without anyone, it doesn't. General Shabig saying the structures don't go up. It's a perfect coming together, right? Rab walno, Maharaj walno hi sara kuch banaya na, Sangharsh puri tayari kiti, right? So Sant Jarnail Singh is there advocating for their guys' release. Akalis are there advocating for the morcha. They called it the Kapuri morcha, right? And very quickly, as politicians be politicians, especially the Akalis, the Akalis realize, hold on, he's getting quite a bit of support. They're flooding the jail, they're flooding the cells that Bhai Singh's in, to say either arrest us or get our guy out. Amrik Singh, we want Amrik Singh out. And they realize, he can do that. This guy, this one Saad can do this. Then the Akalis say, actually, you know what? Do you want to take our thing and your thing and just make it one big thing? That sounds good. And of course, Sant ji was always advocating for the Haqq of Punjab. That is when, and then Sant ji has a condition, and I want to make this clear as well. I heard, I was with, I talked with Dr. Gurdwara Singh, he's probably been here, right? And he was talking about like communism and capitalism. The Kapuri Morcha is supported by leftist politicians, the socialist parties, Marxist parties, they support it. The right wing support it also. So they actually had widespread support. When Sant Jarnail Singh ji enter, the Akalis say, you lead it. And Sant ji goes, cool, I'll lead it, right? As in, we'll make it. There's a condition. This now becomes not Kapuri da Morcha, not Paniya da Morcha, not anything else. It doesn't become political. Remember where we started. I want to go back through, right? That was accident, but it sounded good. Where we started from, right? At the top, it has to be philosophical. Sant ji goes, take your demands. I'm with your demands, right? However, this has to be Dharam Yudh Morcha. This has to be led by faith. It has to be led by Sikhi, or else what you're asking for is going to fall on deaf ears. There has to be an element of Sikhi. Of course, Akalis nabbed the offer, it was great. However, the leftist parties that supported the Kapuri Morcha left. And they left because they obviously didn't believe in religion, they were like communists. And they believed that Sant Jarnail Singh ji has given a religious flavour to what is like a secular demand. And aaj vi apan gal karde si farmers protest, same thing. 3 farmers bills technically got nothing to do with Sikhi, but morche di jit udo hi hundi jadon nishan nagare aa gaye, lo langar lag gaye, है ना, जदों गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब जी दा प्रकाश हो गया, मोर्चे दी जित तां उदों ही होनी है. Right? So again, we had a similar situation there, innit? When the Kisan Agus were like, take the religiousness out of it, just talk about like fair price and all that sort of stuff, right? So you can't have it both ways. Like here, you can't have it both ways. Riots, come to the Gurdwara, they'll know what to do. Oh, but don't make it religious. It doesn't work both ways. Either you give the Vang door to the Pant, you give the reins to the Pants to lead it, and then it will automatically become under some sort of religious umbrella. So that becomes the Dharam Yudh Morcha. So there now, Sant Jarnail says, so why was Sant Ji there? One of the questions. Because, well, they were invited there as well as by the Akalis. And they said to Sant Ji, we're here, the Akali leadership under Harjana Singh Langwal, ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ, you're here under the Taksal leadership, as are various other groups and factions. We have other hardline, they would describe, groups. Dal Khalsa is there, the Babbar Khalsa is there. Sant Jarnail Singh is now in the midst of the entire Sikh agitation for the next 2 years, from 82 to 84. So that's probably even a bigger reason why, why Sant, that's probably a bigger reason why Santaji is there, right? Is that. So that's how we essentially get to. So violence continues, and eventually we get up to the point of the attack. Negotiations break down. Along the way, 2 more things about Santaji, then I'm done. Is lots of people are here. There's a journalist that goes and sees, wants to see Santaji, and I always make this point. Santaji there they're giving interviews to national and international press, male and female, right? They're more accessible than like any other worldly leader. So the official narrative of Sant Jarnail Singh barricaded himself into the barricaded implies like he's not coming out, right? He's inviting you in. It's absolute nonsense. He's more accessible than the sitting leader. I think Narendra Modi's done 1 press conference, only because Trump and al-Khadasi to bolna paya. Otherwise, apart from that, he's done no open media press conference. Sant Jarnail Singh ji, in the 2 years at Akal Takht Sahib, gave more press conferences than the sitting Prime Minister of India in probably 9 years now, right? So Santaji is an accessible leader at that time, and they're making moves. At that point, they're making absolute moves, and almost now you start to understand the paranoia of the state. The Chief Minister of Jammu Kashmir meets Santaji. He talks about his plight. Santaji talks about theirs. Various of the religious leaders come and meet Santaji. The support is just growing and growing and growing and growing, and the state doesn't want to give in. And that's why we get to the period of the attack, essentially. So I can talk about this, as you can probably imagine, for a very long time, but I'm not going to. Philosophical, political, personal. Personal, Tera Singh Shaheed hoye. That's personal. Kulwant Singh Nagu kis Shaheed di. Surinder Singh Sodhi's Shaheed di, by the Akalis who set up Sodhi. Saaryan da ek da badla bhi lena Santa ne. It's personal. It is very much personal. Political, the haq that people are asking for, which they are unable to get, which they have been unable to get for decades. Oh, haq santane pure karne si, absolutely. But ultimately, what is it? It's always philosophical. And Sant Jarnail Singh understands that. That is encapsulated with probably my best clip. 1 minute, it's about a minute clip, and the Swami comes and meets Santaji. And in my opinion, how I interpret that, he goes through the 3 levels of who is this guy, what does he want. So he starts with Bindran Wale ji, he starts with personal, he goes bottom up. He goes Bindran Wale ji, he goes Tuade bhi bande mare, sade bhi bande. Like, on the state side, you've killed you killed police officers, you've killed this and that. Tuade Sikh bhi mare. There's been a lot of bloodshed. I'll get Indira Gandhi, we'll sort it out. Right, let's call it quits. So he starts with like a personal, the personal beef that you got, I can sort it out, I can squash it. To which Sant Jarnail Singh shuts down and says, Shahidan de Qatalanu mein maaf nahi karna. So the people that have made Sikhs Shaheed, they must pay. So he realizes, all right, that's not working. So he goes up 1 into the next one. After personal, it is political. And he goes, okay, Bin Rawali ji goes, I've read your documents, and I've read what you're advocating for. It all seems reasonable. It all seems reasonable, and I think you should have that. I think you should have your waters back. I think you should have Bolli. I think you should have Amritsar as a Pavitra Darja. Even some Hindus conceded to the Amritsar as a holy city, and that convincing is done none other by one of the great intellects of our time, Bhai Amrik Singh. He goes and meets the Hindu Agus, and there's a photo as well somewhere, I think. And they goes, yeah, we support your holy city demand. Anyway, Swami goes, this Swami goes, he goes, I see your demands and I understand them, and you should have them. I do believe you should have them. And Santaji goes, TK. And he goes, but there's a problem. He goes, what's the problem? He goes, the problem is, if I give you your demands, or if Indira Gandhi gives you your demands, then what about everybody else's demands? Wo bhi mangoge. To which Sant Jarnail Singh replies, yeah, that's the point. So very quickly, he realizes this ain't personal for him. It is personal. We will settle those scores, but it isn't only personal. It's political. He wants these demands, he wants these things, but it isn't just political. It was just political for the Qalis. This is philosophical. He understands that this is a Sadivi Sangarsh, and he is part of the next chapter. And that is probably the best analysis of Sant Jarnail Singh Ji that I can give you in this time. I hope that was good. I hope you enjoyed that. ਬੋਲਦਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਅਨੇਕਾਂ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਭੁੱਲਾਂ ਚੁੱਕਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ ਆ ਜੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ ਤੇ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ਾਦਾ ਪਾਣੀ ਛਕੋ and yeah, I'll be here for a bit.